Well, good afternoon. I'm Father David. Thank you for joining me today for Disciple Time. You'll notice that my intro and my outro are not on this video. And that is because even though I had received special permission to use that recording in my intro and outro, Facebook and the big corporations have decided that I can't use it unless I pay them, which I'm not going to do. And so I have removed the intro and outro with the music that I attained the license to use because I'm just tired of fighting with Facebook about it. So I'm going to come up with a different intro and outro, one that they can't claim that they own. And I'm going to continue on with this little devotion. So one time, we're going to get to it. One time, I was out camping by the Metolius River at the base of the mountain there out past Sisters. So if you know that area, you know that in the early part of winter, which is when I was camping, it gets pretty cold out there. And so in an effort to keep warm as I was out tenting, and this is kind of like a summer tent, it's not even a winter tent, I purchased a little gas-powered heater. And so as the sun went down, and after I finished, building a nice fire and having some campfire s'mores and that kind of stuff over the campfire, and enjoyed a last little sip of Buffalo Trace whiskey, which is probably my favorite if I'm out on a campsite, right? I slipped into the tent, and I got that little space heater, and I screwed in to the space heater one of those little propane tanks. And then I bedded down for the night, and I felt pretty cozy as I drifted off to sleep. But then at about 3 a.m. in the morning, I just woke up and my body was shivering in the coldness, and I realized that that propane heater had cycled through all the propane in it, and so the tent was no longer warm. And it kind of just felt like, because I had experienced this before in the Army, it felt like a recipe for hypothermia if I didn't kind of get some heat in there, which is not good. And so it kind of dawned on me at that moment how precious a full tank of gas can be, right? A full tank of gas is a very precious thing. And as I contemplated the readings from the gospel today, I thought about that propane tank running out of gas and how different the tent felt when there was propane versus when there was no propane, when the tank was full and it was producing heat versus when the tank was empty and the cold began to creep into the tent. And I thought about how that relates to our gas tank of joy as people. And have you ever noticed how true joy can kind of alter some bad circumstances in life? Because circumstances can make you happy and sad, but joy, true joy, can transcend circumstances. And even in tough circumstances, when we feel authentic joy, we can really transcend that. And so my ears perked up when I was reading the gospel today, and I read this in John 15:11. I have told you this so that my joy might be in you and your joy might be complete. Did you catch that? Jesus is saying that what he just communicated to his disciples was for a purpose. He said, I have told you this so that my joy might be in you. So Jesus is wanting his disciples to have joy. And he's also saying that the joy he wants them to have is not their own joy, it's his joy. So it's not based on them creating their own joy. It's not based on some outward circumstance bringing joy. It's an inward joy that comes from Christ himself, a Christ-centered and Christ-created joy. And what's the purpose of his disciples having this type of joy implanted within them? Well, he says that their joy might be complete. So it's all right there in that one verse, which means that if we want true, authentic, complete joy in a biblical sense, as the Bible relates that to us, instead of looking to ourselves to create that joy, And instead of looking to our circumstances to manifest that joy for us, we must look to Christ and the work of Christ and God's grace within us to experience that joy that's going to complete our joy, right? So that begs a question, right? What did Christ just tell the disciples that would lead them to this joy? Because remember, he said, I'm telling you this so that your joy can be complete, or so my joy can be in you and your joy can be complete. So what did he just tell them? What did Jesus just unpack that was going to allow Jesus' joy to be in them and then that joy to complete their joy? What was that? Well, we find the answer to that if we go a little bit back in the text and we read John 15, 5 through 11. So here we read this: I am the vine, Jesus says. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now, remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's command and remain in his. And there we have the key to the mystery of Christ's given joy that can transcend our circumstances, right? It's something that flows into us and nourishes us as we connect to the source, the Christ, as we open ourselves to receiving his influx of grace, as we open ourselves to receiving his joy and nourishment. Like branches attached to a vine, we get nourished through Christ. Christ is the vine, we're the branches. And if we look deeper, then maybe we comprehend that the vine has very deep roots into the supernatural realm, and so this joy is something extraordinary. It's coming from the depths of God. And so how is our joy tank today, right? Are we warm? Are we cozy in the tent? Is the tank full of propane? Trust me, it's way better to have a working heater when you're in a cold environment. And sometimes the world can be a pretty cold environment. We need our tank of joy filled. We don't need our joy dependent on the circumstances or up to us to create it. I think it's really eye-opening to consider opening up to Christ just giving you his joy so that your own joy can be complete, right? So what's the application for the journey today? I think it's this: our spiritual fruit-bearing nourishment comes to us as we recognize we are branches that must be connected to the vine of Christ, who fills us with his joy. Well, thank you for joining me today. There won't be a nice outro because I've got this issue going on with Facebook right now, and the corporation's trying to own all music in the world. So thank you and have a blessed day.